We are indeed broadcasting on Facebook. And then it still says it's setting up for Zooming and asked me to go to the news feed. And let's see there. Yes, we are indeed live. So we'll get started with this brief prayer to the Special Master. Thank you so much, devotees, for joining us here. Those of you watching us on Facebook. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnana-anjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Lagunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. God Premanande Hare Hare. Welcome Satapa Mataji, good to see you here. So question of the day is that which verse are we reading?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. So are you ready to tell us?
Yes.
Verse we are doing?
It is 6.3.
6.3 for 500 points. Correct. So let's go for 6.3. So chapter 6 is about what?
Dhyana Yoga.
Dhyana Yoga.
Dhyana Yoga.
Yeah, Dhyana Yoga, right? Okay. So let's see, what does it say? ārurukṣor munir yogam karma kāraṇam ucyate yogārūḍhasya tasyaiva śamaḥ kāraṇam ucyate. ārurukṣor munir yogam karma kāraṇam ucyate yogārūḍhasya tasyaiva śamaḥ kāraṇam ucyate. ārurukṣor munir yogam karma kāraṇam ucyate yogārūḍhasya tasyaiva śamaḥ kāraṇam ucyate. ārurukṣoḥ, one who has just begun yoga. muneḥ, of the sage. yogam, the eightfold yoga system. karma, work. kāraṇam, the means. ucyate, is said to be. yoga, eightfold yoga. ārūḍhasya, of one who has attained. tasya, his. eva, certainly. śamaḥ, cessation of all material activities. kāraṇam, the means. ucyate, is said to be. ārurukṣor munir yogam karma kāraṇam ucyate yogārūḍhasya tasyaiva śamaḥ kāraṇam ucyate. So what does it mean? Prabhupada translates that. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For one who is a neophyte in eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. And I'm just trying to move my mouse. Okay, here. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. The ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to the perfect self-realization in pure spiritual life. According to various elevations, different parts of the ladder are known by different names. But all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga and may be divided into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called yogārūḍhasya stage, and the highest rung is called yogārūḍhasya. Concerning the eightfold yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life and practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less bodily exercises, are considered fruit of material activity. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. A Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna. And being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna, he is considered to have ceased all material activities. Om Tat Sat. So, what did we hear so far? Anything stuck in your mind?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandapranam.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, whatever we achieve through Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and then leaving all the material desires and all fruitive results, in any of we, if we are engaged in Krishna consciousness in Bhakti Yoga, then everything comes there directly. No need to go step by step, directly and elevate.
Right, very good. That was a conclusive statement of Srila Prabhupada. Right? So let's go back into chapter 6 and try to find what's happening here. And, suddenly this ladder has come. And what does it mean? Yogarūḍha, yogārūkṣoḥ, all those words which are there, right? So let's go back and look at the 2 verses that we did prior to today's session here. And so chapter number 6 of the Bhagavad-gita. So first verse was very nice. It said, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Naniragnir Nacha Kriyaha. So what does it mean? It says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Okay, so that was the first verse. The second verse was Yam sanyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. What is called renunciation? You should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. And today's verse. ārurukṣor muner yogam karma kāraṇam ucyate yogārūḍhasya tasyaiva śamaḥ kāraṇam ucyate. For one who is a neophyte in eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Now let's look at these 3 verses together. Okay, that'll happen if you go into this English translation mode. So over here, it's very interesting thing that, so they are basically, up until now, he's talking about sannyasa and, yogi. So sannyasi and a yogi. And we are trying to understand what this sannyasi and the yogi, all these things are about, right? So in today's verse, we in the purport, Prabhupada describe what is yoga, right? He said yoga means to connect yourself with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is yoga, right? So a yogi is somebody who connects himself to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then what is a sannyasi? Right? So in English, what does yogi translate to? What is the English word for yogi? What is a yogi called in English?
A mystic transcendentalist.
Mystic, correct, right? So a yogi is called a mystic. Okay. So in the first verse, what he's emphasizing, what Krishna here is emphasizing, he's saying, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he's obligated is in the renounced order of life. That is, he's a sannyasi. So how many orders of life do we have?
Four.
4 orders. And what are those 4 orders, please?
Brahmacharyam, Grahastha, Ashram, right? And Vanaprastham and Sannyasa.
And sannyasa, right? So those are the 4 stages of life, renounced. So now he's talking about the last order of life, which is said to be the renounced order of life. Okay? So, and he's a true mystic. So now here, Prabhupada is saying, or Krishna is saying, that the same person can be a sannyasi and can also be a yogi. Right? And if you look at the Sanskrit for this word, what did he say in this second? Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. So he's a sannyasi and a yogi, right? So over here he's saying that that sort of a person is both a sannyasi as well as a yogi. Who is that kind of a person? What is the characteristic of that person? One who is both a sannyasi and a yogi. What is his characteristic from this verse?
They are not attached to the material.
From this verse, what is it saying? He's unattached to what?
One who is a neophyte. Eightfold yoga.
From text number 1, which is right in front of your eyes.
Who is unattached to the fruits of his work.
Fruits of his work, right? So that's the correct word. So we have to be careful, right? Read scrutinizingly. So Krishna is saying, so Krishna is saying that a person who is unattached to the fruits of his work, that kind of a person, right? Even though he's working, right? He works as he's obligated. He knows it's my duty. He's working. He's obligated. That person, he says, is a sannyasi. He's actually in the renounced order of life. But although, sannyasis don't work, right? So he's saying that he's such a person in the renounced order of life. And then he is also a true mystic. He's also a yogi, right? That's one statement, that inside one person can be both. He can be a yogi as well as a sannyasi, as long as he does not get attached to the fruits of his work, right? And then on contrast, he's also saying, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Okay? So sometimes people might just give up doing work, as Arjun was prepared to give up his responsibilities and say that I don't want to fight, right? So not he who lights no fire. So basically fire, is very much associated with grihastha-ashram. So that, people have to cook. So fire is there right in the morning. And also, even if you are a brahmana or priest, you will be doing yagyas, right? So fire is there. Worship of fire is there. Even today, the Parsis worship fire, right? In some of the homes, there's a yagya every day. So like that. So he's saying that that's such a person, and who's unattached to the fruits of his work, he's actually a yogi and a sannyasi, and not he who lights no fire and does not perform his duty. So if you are in a grihastha-ashram, if you're doing everything that you're obligated to do, you're a father, you're a mother, whatever you have to do, you are doing that particular duty, but you're not attached to the fruits of that work, right? Then you can be a sannyasi and a yogi at the same time. But if you give up and say, well, I have found Krishna consciousness and, I have got 5 kids, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to give up superficially. I'm going to give up all my duties and I'm not going to do anything, right? He's saying that person is neither a yogi nor a sannyasi. Okay, that is what we said in the first verse. And then in the second verse, he's just saying, what is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga. So he's saying that a sannyasa is the same as yoga. You should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself. So after making this bold statement in the first verse of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna is saying that, if you're unattached to the fruits of work, And even if you're working, you're both a sannyasi and a yogi. So that's a very big statement he has made, right? So what is called renunciation? He's saying you should be the same as yoga. So now he's trying to explain why did he make that statement in the first verse. The what is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the supreme, O son of Pandu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification, right? So normally the term renunciation, renouncing things and all that, we attach those terms with sannyas ashram, right? Or sannyas yoga, renunciation, right? Giving up things a renunciate will do, right? Or a sannyasi will do, right? So, but what he's just saying here is that in my previous sentence, previous verse, I have said that, you know, the same person is both a yogi and a sannyasi. Now I'm explaining to you how they can be same, because the renunciation and yoga are the same, because the renunciate or the sannyasi renounces things, but even a person who is a yogi, he also renounces that. And what does he renounce? He renounces the desires for sense gratification, right? So that is what now. So then if you make a statement like this, that, you know, well, sannyasi and the yogi are the same, right? You give up results. So then the question might come to Arjuna's mind that then you could do, you know, what is the need? I mean, what is the need of sannyas? Maybe I can continue to do the work, right? I can keep on doing whatever work I'm doing. What is the need for me to do the sannyas? Okay, because he said that. What is renunciation? You know to be the same as yoga. They're the same thing, then why? You know, and on the top, first verse, he has said that, you know, one who works as is obligated, then fine, I'll continue to work. What is the need for me to take the renounced order of life, and what exactly goes in there, right? So to clarify that any such doubts can arise in the mind of Arjuna, Krishna now speaks the third verse, right? What he's saying is, for one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means, right? So here in this verse, now he's talking about two things, right? One is that how one set of person has to do the work. Other set of person cannot, is okay if he does not do that work, right? So, and what were the terms that he was using in today's verse? If we go to text number 3, I'm not sharing it, but just reciting that for you. He is saying that ārurukṣor muner yogam, right? Ārurukṣor. So ārurukṣ. So what exactly is this ārurukṣor? And then the second one was yogārūḍhasya, right? So Prabhupada is explaining that this is a concept of climbing, or when you are improving in anything, there's always a concept of you are rising to a higher level. Okay, like even when we talk about mundane world, where you're working in an office and they say that you climb the corporate ladder, right? You go up the hierarchy. So there's always, when there is improvement, you're kind of going up, 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 right? Even here in our universe, where we have the 14 planetary system, the upper planetary systems are better than the lower ones, like that. So going up usually signifies that there is some improvement there. Okay. So why are we trying to go up? What is up? What is there up? What is on the topmost thing here? If you're trying to go up in devotional service, what is the topmost thing that you can reach? Sorry? Yeah, just so you reach Krishna. So Krishna is at the top, right? And yoga basically means that you have to connect with Krishna. So now we know we are over here and we say Golok Vrindavan, Krishna is right at the top. So there has got to be some way that I connect to Krishna. So when something is at the top and you are at the bottom, and if you want to reach, for example, your rooftop, what do? You bring a ladder and you put the ladder against the wall and you climb it. Okay. So what he's saying is, in this particular verse, he's saying, he's using the term ārurukṣor, right? Ārurukṣor. Ārurukṣor means that one who has just, approaching the ladder. that is known as ārurukṣoḥ. So what that means is that as you are, and what does that ladder do? That ladder is going to connect you with Krishna. Okay. So I have a ladder that's going to connect me with Krishna. I am just beginning. So I am, pointing my movements or pointing my direction, or the direction in which I'm moving is towards that ladder. Okay. So in the beginning, that ārurukṣoḥ is a neophyte devotee. In the beginning, he's at the lowest level of the ladder. Okay. And then ārūḍhasya. Ārurukṣoḥ means ārūḍh. Ārūḍh means to climb something, right? So if you look at your screens here and you'll see me, and you see a picture behind me. What picture is that? Do you see it?
Krishna in the battle.
Yes, Krishna is back, right? And where is Parth and where is Krishna located, situated? Where are they?
Sarathi.
On the chariot?
They are on the
The Sarathi is chariot.
Right. Chariot, right? So we can say they are rath-ārūḍh. Rath-ārūḍh means that they have climbed on the rath. Okay? So in today's verse, they are saying you can also be ashvarūḍh. Ashvarūḍh would mean what?
Horse riding.
So ashvarūḍh will mean what?
Horse, he rides the horse. He sits on the horse.
He's climbed on the horse, right? So a person, so ashvarūḍh. So similarly, yogārūḍh means somebody who has now climbed the ladder of yoga, right? And then he will continue to go up the ladder. Okay? And then depending on where you are in your progress, different people can be at different rungs of this ladder. Okay? So now what he's saying is, let's go back and look at our verse today, right? So you got that mental picture that there is a ladder and you are trying to climb that ladder, and approaching the ladder, ārurukṣoḥ, right? One who has just begun the yoga, right? And yogārūḍhasya, one who has attained. Ārūḍhasya means attained. Okay. So here, obviously, in this, he's talking about the eightfold system. And what he's saying is that if you are in the beginning stage of yoga or mysticism, if you're in the beginning stage, then you have just, sort of walking towards that ladder. And if you are in the beginning stage, then you should do your work. You should do your work, right? And then if you are in the advanced stage, yogārūḍhasya, now you have climbed the ladder of yoga, then cessation of work is the means. You will then stop working. Okay. So now let's look at this a little bit deeper into this ladder. So we're talking about Ashtanga Yoga, and we talked about the eightfold, right? Prabhupada also talks about the eightfold mystic system, right? In the purports. So what is Ashtanga Yoga and what are the 8 limbs? So we have been talking about this for quite some time now, right? So what are the 8 limbs? What is the first thing that you do in Ashtanga Yoga?
Shravan.
No, those are 9 processes of devotional service. This is Ashtanga Yoga. Now you will remember as soon as I tell you the first.
Breathing and physical.
That comes a little later. The first 2 should be very important, very easy. The first 2 are yam.
Yam
And niyam, right? I said the moment I'll say that, you'll remember, right? And so the first one is yam, and the second one is niyam, right? Some people also call it as do's and don'ts, right? Do's and don'ts, although do's and don'ts can be worded in such a way that a do can become a don't and a don't can become a do. For example, a do is get up early, and a don't is don't sleep late, right?
Yes.
The same thing, right? So there's like that. But basically, the yam and niyam. So we had talked about that the yam actually deals with how you relate with the outside world. So your outer behavior, right, with respect to the world is yam. For example, you should not steal. You should not tell lies, you should not cheat like that, right? So kill, beat, insult in your dealings with people, right? So this is what your outward thing, right? You should present yourself in a clean manner, wear clean clothes, take a shower, like that. External is the yam, right? And the niyam has got to do with your internal things, right? Internal purification. The niyam kind of things will lead to. So what are the niyams that we do in ISKCON?
Four regulative principles we had to do.
4 regulative principles. We follow the 4 regulative principles. And then we also, Lakshmi says that we also chant, right? We also chant, and we also read Srila Prabhupada's books, right? So Swadhyaya, we also do tapasa, we'll undergo austerities, we'll keep fast and things like that. So that is also a niyam that you do, right? So there's yam and then there's niyam. And then after that, what you do?
Pranayama. No. Yam, niyam.
We did that last time. Asana.
Asana. Sit on a sacred place.
So asana basically means the various kinds of yogic postures that you do, right? You go and join a yoga club, they will tell you, Surya Namaskar, downward dog position, Sarpasana, Bhujangasana, crocodile pose, locust pose, fish pose, so they will tell you to go into a pose and stay there, right? So the idea is that a still mind needs a still body, okay? So that is what your asanas are going to help you do, okay? So yam, niyam, asana, and then what is the 4th one that you do? Yam, niyam, pranayama. Correct, right? So what do you do in the pranayama?
Breathing, hold your breath, and then
right. So learn how to control your breath. Right. So you must have noticed that when you get angry, you start breathing very quickly, right? But a person who is practicing pranayama, when anger comes, will have a better way of breathing. He'll know to breathe properly. So there's yam, niyam. So there's yam, niyam, asana, pranayama. And then what do you do?
Mind.
Then you do pratyahara. Pratyahara is that you withdraw your senses from the sense objects. Okay? Pratyahara. So what is the meaning of ahar in Hindi or Sanskrit?
Food, eating.
Food. Ahar is food, right? So ahara, so pratyahara in this sense, in this context means
control your
food for the senses. Food for your senses. So food for the eyes is a beautiful form, a beautiful picture, be a beautiful painting. The food for the ears is a beautiful melody, song melody, right? A food for the nose is beautiful smell from a flower or perfume or things like that, right? So each of our senses have an appetite for something. So there's a ahar, there's a hunger, and that hunger will make them reach out to their objects of sense, right? So at each sense organ, like eyes, will roam around here and there trying to look for something beautiful.
Controlling the senses.
So pratyahara is where we are saying that you withdraw your senses, okay? So now let's go back to the first 4 stages of, Ashtanga Yoga, okay? So the first was yama, which meant that how you interact with the external world, right? So in order to do the first part, do you have to detach yourself from the world, or do you have to be living in the world to do the first one?
We have to live in the world.
You have to live in the world, right? Okay. So then yam and niyam. Niyam is also that talks about the purity of your mind. So to do swadhyaya, to keep a vrata, do you have to leave this world? and go away?
No, Mataji.
No, right? So yam, niyam. Then the third one was asana. So if you want to do some asana, do you have to leave this world? Do you have to leave your family and go away?
No.
To do yoga? No, right? And then the fourth one was what?
Yam, niyam, asana, pranayama, pratyahara.
Pranayama, right?
Pranayama.
So fourth one was pranayama. So, right? Now, in order to do pranayama, can you stay in this world and do pranayama? Can you do it in your family?
No.
Yeah,
You can do it, yes.
You can do it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the 4 stages. So I'm putting the first 4 in one bucket. And now comes the pratyahara. Pratyahara means that I'm withdrawing my senses from objects, right? So which basically means I won't see this, like that. Now, can I do that and still live in this world?
What did you say, Mataji?
So when I'm doing pratyahara, right, can I do my day-to-day activities while doing pratyahara? Which is basically my eyes won't see anything. My ears don't want to see anything. I don't want
Cannot do.
Right? So here in this verse where he's talking about today's verse, ārurukṣor. Ārurukṣor is the beginning stage of Ashtanga Yoga, because he's talking about yogi, right? So there will be 2 types of yogis, neophyte yogis and advanced yogis. So how do I know whether I am an advanced yogi or I am a newcomer, a neophyte, right? So when you're doing the first 4 of these 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga, right? First 4, you are a neophyte. Right? Neophyte and ārurukṣor. But say ārurukṣor to yourself. Ārurukṣor means that you're in the neophyte stage. Okay? But then something happens. Something happens. And then you say, oh, wow, no. I don't want to engage with this, right? And Krishna says in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Samahatma Sudurlabha. Right? So Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti means Vasudev is everything. So for me to come to that realization, right? And slowly, I will go through the first 4 stages where I'm doing my mind control through my breathing and things like that, right? And then once I realize that Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Samahatma Sudurlabha, then I have to leave. I cannot stay in this world because I have to detach myself from the senses, and that's why these yogis are going to go to a forest. Now, can you give me an example of somebody who went to the forest from Srimad Bhagavatam?
Parikshit Maharaj.
Bharat Maharaj.
Which Maharaj?
Bharat.
Parikshit Maharaj went and did mystic yoga? When did he do mystic yoga?
But he went, he left everything and he went there. No?
Who left everything and went to which forest?
He left kingdom and everything, Parikshit Maharaj, within 7 days.
But the question was that who left everything and went to the forest and did Ashtanga Yoga? That's the question from Srimad Bhagavatam. And I have got the answer on the chat. Right? What's on your chat? What's the answer on the chat?
Dhruv Maharaj.
Dhruv Maharaj, right? So let's look at Dhruv Maharaj and see what he was doing and how he was doing pratyahara, right? So this would be in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Dhruv Maharaj is SB, somewhere around the 70s it starts. So let me just bring SB, sorry, my search went wrong in Google. Fourth chapter, 4th canto, 8th chapter. Let's bring it up. Okay, so it's 71, it's number 71. Let me just start sharing that with you. Here, sharing the screen. 4871, right? So they're describing about Dhruv Maharaj, how he felt little cheated, little insulted because of his stepmother. And then he meets Narad Muni, and Narad Muni gives him a mantra to recite. And that mantra was, what was the mantra?
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Correct, for 1,000 points, right? So now, so Dhruv Maharaj, he gives that. And then Dhruv Maharaj, he says, elsewhere, Dhruv Maharaj having arrived at Madhuvan. So what is the meaning of one in English? What is one in English?
Ek.
Come on, Mataji, look at this screen.
Where is this? Which one? That's where Dhruv Maharaj having arrived.
Forest.
Forest, yeah. So one means a forest. So you see what the, so you see what the mystic yogi is doing here. Do you see that? He has gone to the forest. So it's a requirement. If you're trying to do the eightfold mystic system, is what you will do, right? So he arrived at Madhuvan, took his bath in the river Yamuna. So he's also doing yam niyam part of it, right? So he took his bath in the river Yamuna. So they will go to the Madhuvan, they will go to a forest, they will stop doing most of the things. Like he's a king's son. So maybe he was going to learn martial arts, he was going to study, all those kind of things. Those things they will not do when these yogis go to a one. They will stop doing all those activities, right? But certain things they still have to do, like they have to take a bath, right? They have to keep themselves clean, right? So that yam niyam part will still be there, but interactions with human beings get reduced because you've gone to the forest, right? And observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. So you see, he's not eating in the night. And after that, as advised by the great sage Narada, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So he had asked him, and how did he do that? He was chanting his names. Now, for his glories, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. For the first month, Dhruv Maharaj ate only fruits and berries, right? So he is now withdrawing his senses. This is pratyahara. Ahar, literally he has given up food, but he has also given up other interactions because in a forest cannot interact with other things, right? And why did he eat that? Fruits and berries only every third day, only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way, he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the second month, Dhruv Maharaj ate only every 6 days. Can you do that? And as for his eatables, he took dry grass and leaves. Thus, he continued in his worship. So you see, there is a special mention here that this is a dry grass. So dry grass is dry. Can you imagine? It can even cut your tongue to pieces because it's very sharp, right? And normally, he's a small boy. He's 5-year-old. He's not a big man that he can chew straw. He's a small young boy with a soft tongue. And even when you try to give leaves to calves, right? You don't go and give them dried leaves. You'll get the soft, fresh leaves and you're going to give that. But Dhruv Maharaj here, completely pratyahara, right? So he is he's eating dry grass and leaves, and thus he continued his worship. In the third month, he drank only water every 9 days, and thus he remained completely in trance and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by select verses. In the fourth month, Dhruv Maharaj became a complete master of his breathing exercise, and thus he inhaled air only every 12th day. In this way, he became completely fixed in his position and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By the 5th month, Dhruv Maharaj, the son of the king, had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on only one leg, just as a column stands, without motion. So motion, this is asana. And concentrate his mind fully on the Parabrahma, Samadhi. Right? So dhyan, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, like that are the other 3 stages in Ashtanga Yoga. He completely controlled his senses and their objects. And in this way, he fixed his mind without diversion to anything else. Right? So this is else upon the form of the Supreme Lord. So when you have done this, now you are gone into the stage of dhyana. And then when that gets intensified, then it becomes samadhi. So Dhruv Maharaj has reached the samadhi stage, right? When Dhruva Maharaj thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and look at the statement over here, he's saying he thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is a refuge of the total material creation and who is a master of living entities. The three worlds began to tremble. And this is one of the things about, reaching that high stage, that you have focused your attention on Krishna to that level, right? Now, he's doing Ashtanga Yoga. So Dhruva Maharaj was able to see the personality of God in his heart. That's what you see, right? But because Narad Muni is a devotee, right? He's a devotee, so he asked him to chant the holy name, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, like that. So his yogic practices, although they involved the steps of the Ashtanga Yoga, although they involved the fact that, he was doing asanas, pranayams, taking shower, not eating, pratyahara and all that, but he was focusing on Krishna. Now, it's not necessary that all the mystic yogis are going to focus just on that, right? Sometimes the mystic yogis are just trying to do these 8 steps of Ashtanga Yoga just to get some mystic powers. And when they get the mystic powers, they just come back to the world and then they can fool the innocent public like that, right? But here he's focusing on Krishna. So that's why we will see that the Lord appears, right? Krishna Garbha appears in front of Dhruva Maharaj. And when Dhruva Maharaj, you remember how he had started, why he was here? There was a material desire in his heart. His material desire was to have a kingdom which was bigger than the kingdom of his father or great-grandfather, which is Brahma, right? So he wanted to have something better than Brahma. But when he sees the Lord, he just says that, I'm not going to ask you anything, Swami, because what I was asking for is just pieces of glass, and you are really a diamond that is there, right? So when a person is in the first 4 stages, when a person is a neophyte, he just goes all the way up to yam, niyam, and then asana and pranayama, right? That's all that he does. But then as soon as he knows Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha, and in the case of Dhruva, his mother had already told her, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, he is everything and he's the only one who can solve your problems. So he already knew. And then the spiritual master, Narad Muni, kind of added a catalyst and he threw in a mantra and said, okay, you chant this particular mantra. So Dhruva Maharaj then went and followed the other 4, Pratyahara. So once you start doing the Pratyahara, that is said to be the yogārūḍhasya stage. And that is that you have climbed the ladder. Okay? And this ladder is, you have climbed and you're going up. So below that, there are a lot of other things that are there, right? A person can do sakam karma. Sakam karma is that he is doing worship of Krishna or Vishnu, right? In the Bhagavad-gita, again, 7th chapter, it says that Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna artho jigyasu arthati gyani char bharata rishabhas. He says 4 types of people come to me, right? So those who are seeking some economic gains, or those who are distressed, right? Those who are inquisitive, and those who are bhaktas, like that, or gyanis, inquisitive. So 4 kind of people will come to Krishna, right? To try to understand that, right? So as you go through these stages, we have to understand that if our goal is to reach the Lord, right? If the goal is to reach the Lord on the top, then there are different methods. So there's a ladder that's going to take you to the Lord, and there are different methods, and according to the method that you're using, you could be spaced and placed on different sections of the ladder. Okay, you could even be below the ladder where you're doing sakam karma. Sakam karma basically means that I know the Vedas, I need something, I've got strong material desires, and I know that I should still worship Vishnu and ask from him, rather than trying to do something dubious and bad, right? So I'm doing yam and niyam. I'm following that part, and I'm going to go to the Lord, right? Sakam karma. And then on top of that, there is jnana yoga. On top of that is dhyana yoga, karma yoga, and then last is buddhi yoga or bhakti yoga. Okay. And so Prabhupada explains that in order to reach the Lord, either you can take this ladder and go up, or you can also take an elevator. Now, if you take an elevator, it basically means you'll go to Golok Vrindavan straight, right? And in the process of bhakti, interestingly, all these items of Ashtanga Yoga, they do get covered, right? When you recite the Bhagavad-gita, you're doing pranayama. When you sit still to do the chanting, you are in an asana. Like that, you're doing everything. Pratyahara, of course, we do that. We said, Krishnendriya Priti, not Atmendriya Priti. So you're satisfying Krishna's senses, right? So it's important for us to know and understand where we are, and not just say that, okay, I'm going to take sannyas and I'm, renouncing everything. Because if we do that prematurely, right, and try to take sannyas prematurely, what's going to happen is that our desires are still going to be there, right? Desires are still going to be there, and they will impel you. They will force you. They will push you into action, right? Push you into action like that, right? So in today's verse, he's saying that if you are in the beginning stages, of progress in devotional service, right? ārurukṣoḥ. So he's saying for you, you do the work. Work is the means for you to get the progress. Okay? So you will work. As part of the working, you will interact with people, right? In order to keep fit, you will do exercises. Then you start doing asanas, right? And somebody will say, okay, to reduce stress, do pranayama. You could do all that, right? And work basically means that you have got certain obligations and duties in life, and you are going to do all those, right? However, when you reach the highest stage, yogārūḍhasya, you have climbed that particular ladder, right? Then what happens is that you start looking inwards. So now there's not going to be any progress outwards, right? For example, for us as devotees, one step of progress is I start applying a tilak. So people will say, oh, tilak on the head, oh, Hare Krishna, Ganthimala. These are external signs. This is progress, but it is all external, right? The real progress and the more difficult progress is when you start progressing inside. And in order to progress inside, your progress is going to be inside. Your ultimate goal is also going to be inside, and you will also seek pleasure inside, right? Otherwise, we're always seeking pleasure outside, from here, from there, right? And we never get any pleasures. Why? Because as Vaisheshika Prabhu was saying last Saturday in his class, that a subtle entity can never get pleasure out of a gross thing, right? So we are subtle. We won't get any happiness. But when we start focusing inward, by first withdrawing our senses, you close your eyes, and that's what Brahmaras did. You close your eyes, stop listening to the birds chirping, stop even eating. I don't even want to chew. I'm just focusing, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and thinking of the Lord in my heart. I'm moving inwards, and that is where you're going to get your pleasure. I'm not seeking any pleasures outside. And when I do that, there is no need for me to do work at that time. So he's saying that one who is in the neophyte stage of devotional service or yoga, then he has to do his work. Why? Because he still has some desires in his heart. And in the very beginning in this chapter, what Krishna said, that not one who lights no fire, the one who does the work, but is detached from what? Detached from the results of the work, right? So you have to be detached from the results of the work, and then you have to do the work. And then when you go to the advanced stage, then cessation of work is the means. You have to stop working. Why? Because now you have realized Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So in this Ashtanga Yoga system, you have to leave. You have to leave, and you have to go to a forest. You have to sit in the forest. You have to follow the principles, and then you will achieve the Lord, right? So that is the crust of the verse from today. So I will stop here, and I'll take some questions or reflections, anything that you heard today. I know Siddhapa can't talk today. Anything that you're carrying away, anything that you heard, any questions that you have, I have 7 more minutes to answer your questions here.
So we are like I myself, I am in Yama and Niyam only. Mataji.
What do you say? What do you think?
Starting stage, you know. I'm in, not that I didn't reach up to pranayama. I don't know whether I reached or not. Pranayama pratyahar. So I don't know.
What do you think? Others, Lakshmi, are you in a
I
position?
mean, beginning stage, I feel.
Yeah. It is always nice to have that feeling that I'm a beginner, because a beginner has got enthusiasm. If we start thinking that I'm a devotee and I'm a devotee, then that's a short, short recipe for our disaster in devotional service, in progress in devotional service. So it's always nice to have that mood, right? However, we are not Ashtanga yogis. So we're not talking about yogārūḍhasya. We have not taken that ladder. Instead, what we have taken is bhakti yoga. So here in this chapter, Krishna, actually almost in every chapter, he's kind of, talks about this and that, and then he comes back and says devotional service is the best, right? Because that is what our duty towards Krishna actually is. So in the yogārūḍhasya stage, you will understand what your duty to Krishna is. And finally, in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, when he sees Krishna, he understands, right? So we have to understand what our relationship with Krishna is going to be. And each one of us has got a special relationship already defined and crafted with Krishna, either in a Sakhya bhav or tasya bhav or, parental vatsalya bhav or madhurya, like that. So the interesting thing is that we have a relationship with Krishna, and in this material world, which is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world, everything is opposite and nothing lasts, right? For example, we have friends, right? I can have a friend, I can have a very good relationship with a friend, but then something happens, the friend is rude, and then the friendship breaks, right? Or I can be in a very loving relationship with a spouse, and then after some time, the relationship goes bad, right? I can have a very nice relationship with the mom. But in this material world, these relationships change. For example, how a 4-year-old boy can love his mother, or a 4-year-old girl loves her mother. And as they grow, do they love their mothers as much?
Yes, the changes.
Changes, exactly, right? So these things, they change, these relationships change, and change is the thing of this material world, right? But so finally, after going through all these things in life, when a person understands that I'm focusing and I'm investing in the wrong relationships, and my only relationship is with Krishna, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. That Mahatma is very difficult to find, but he is there, right? So when he finds that's not a good relationship, then he goes inside, because super soul is inside your body. And he says, what is there for me to look outside? What do I have to look outside? Bilva Mangal Thakur, when he saw Krishna, he wanted to poke his eye. He wanted to, not Bilva Mangal Thakur, Sudas, they say, right? He saw Krishna and said, I don't want my eyes to see anything else. Like that. So they don't want to indulge. They don't want to go out and see anything in the external world. They just want to go inside and meditate and find the Lord in their heart. So we have to understand that part. Yeah. Anything else? Actually, there's a very nice verse in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, and I think it comes towards the end when he talks a lot about yeah, let me share this with you. about going inside and trying to find happiness was told to us in the 5th chapter itself. He says, Yonta sukhontar aramas tathantar jyotir evayaha sayogi brahma nirvanam brahmo bhuto digacchati. So what he's saying is, one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Right? So one whose happiness is within, who's active and rejoices within, whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect yogi. So basically he's just saying that what is there inside Krishna? So he's saying, okay, I understand all this dhyana and dharana, all this pratyahara, you withdraw your senses, and then you do dharana, which is, you focus, try to bring the focus, but in a conscious way. That I am focusing. So I know that I am incompetent. I am consciously incompetent. I know that I am incompetent. I am incompetent, and I know that I am incompetent, but I'm trying to improve that by doing dhyana, dharana, trying to bring my focus, right? And dhyana is at a higher level of focus. When you start to think about the Lord, that is dhyana. Dharana can be on anything. You can focus on a keychain and just focus on that, right? But dharana is, dhyan is actually when you're focusing on the Lord. And samadhi is when your complete focus is on the Lord. So between dharana and dhyan, dharana is practice, it's focused. You're doing it, you're consciously doing it. But in the dhyan stage, you are unconsciously doing it. And in the samadhi stage, that's all you are doing. Only thinking about the Lord. That's the samadhi stage, which Dhruva Maharaj had attained, right? And when you reach that stage, then Krishna will manifest himself in your heart like that. So that's why instead of trying to look outside, this verse is saying that you look inside and focus. First focus artificially or in a practice mode, and then it'll start coming naturally to you. And we see that last time I told the story of how Sanatan Rupa Goswami was meditating on the pastimes of the Lord, and he was smiling and laughing because the focus is completely inside. They don't even know what is happening to people outside, who's walking, who's talking, who's listening, and not doing things like that. So, but good. Thank you so much for joining the class today and for being participative. I'll take your leave, and we will meet again on Sunday morning for some of you. And then if Krishna willing, we'll meet on Friday next and continue our discussions with chapter 6 of Bhagavad-gita, which is Dhyana Yoga, where at the end of it, he's going to say, Bahunam, he's going to say, Yoginam api sarvesham yat gatenantar atmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mata. So he's saying that among all the yogis, the one who prays to me is the best, like that. So we have Lakshmi Mataji raising her hand. Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, wonderful session. Thank you for bringing up so many things like Dhruva Maharaj, Bhagavad-gita 5.24 verse. Wonderful Mataji. Thank you so much. And last week you gave an assignment. I just humbly reminding here.
Did you do that? I was going to, yeah. Did you do that? I didn't ask it on purpose today because I knew that you were going to do it. So I want to discuss that when more people are there, right? So that more people will benefit. So today the class was a short class, but thank you for doing it. Hold on to it, and I will definitely call upon you to talk.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you. Thanks so much for giving me.
Yeah, but how was the experience of doing it?
Yeah, actually, I accepted the first assignment. I just want to be meditating the Lord. Whether I am doing or not, I don't know. But at least I will think, right? Oh, something is there. I have to do something. I have to do something about Krishna. I have to think which verse, which book shall I refer? At least thinking would be there at least. Otherwise, going on to material stuff. So that's why I took the assignment actually. But it was wonderful experience. Like it would go on forever. That I got to know.
Yes, and by the time you reach the verse, you have walked by so many other verses.
Yes,
yes. Like,
yes.
And then the relish comes, right? Yeah, the relishing is there. Machita madgata prana bodhayantas parasparam katyantas cha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So that tushti and then ramanti, you'll get so absorbed. Ramanti means to get absorbed in it. So that process, is very satisfying, and that's why I had asked for you, that we should do that homework. But thank you, Mataji, for doing it.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
And thank you for sharing your reflections. I'll take your leave now. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Gopremanande Hari Hari Bol. And for those of you joining us on Facebook, Vijayalakshmi Mataji.
Thank you
That's
very much.
all. So I'm going to
Shraddha
disconnect.
Mataji.
Hari Bol. Shila